A very good evening to all the poets around the world, especially to the poets in India and United Kingdom. India, Pakistan and United Kingdom. Poetry, as believed by Wordsworth, is spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling where emotion recollect in tranquility. So whatever we write, and any poet write, it is basically his or her emotion coming out in the form of verses, beautiful verses. Sometimes it is experience, sometimes they are feeling. So and different poet have different attitude towards writing poem. So here today we have a poet from United Kingdom who is originally from South Asia but residing in United Kingdom, and I, Dr. Shaminaz, on behalf of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society, congratulate Sarfaraz Ahmed from United Kingdom for publishing his new book, Stab the Pomegranate. So let me introduce the poet first. Sarfaraz Ahmed, who lives and works in East Midland, UK, and is a career advisor, branching out as a trainer, assessor, and a career writer. He has been writing poetry for over 18 years and has contributed to many anthologies around the world, including Paints the Sky with Stars, published by Reinvention UK, and many other published by the United Press, and many online contributions. His published book include Poetry Debut 84 Pins Poetry Collection, which was published in June 2020, My Teacher and Alien, November 2020, which is a children's book with illustrator Natasha Adams. He published both the books from Green Cat Books. He has published his second collection of poetry alongside with his friend Annette Tarpley. The title of the book is Too Hard, which he published in February 2021. And the newly published book is entitled as Stab the Pomegranate. It is a collective poetry which he published recently in August 2021. So, Sarfaraz is an administrator, the large passion of poetry group on Facebook, and has a following on Facebook and Instagram. In May 2021, he was recognized as a world contributor poet, recognized for his contribution to poetry by Administrator Poetry and Literature World Vision. We can find him at open mic event anywhere around the world, in many poetry event where he has shared his poetry globally, and he is also the PLCS UK representative. So once again, I congratulate Sarfaraz sir for your poem. And I know indeed, like we have earlier heard your poem, and especially Two Hearts, which we have already did a book release event on the digital platform of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. So today we want you to release your book, and also we request you to read some of the verses from your book. So
Okay,
over to
thank
you,
you,
Sarfaraz
Dr.
sir.
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me introduce you my fourth book, and thank you for a fantastic introduction. I'm very, very honored, very humbled to be here today. Start the Pomegranate, which you can see in the cover, is my fourth book. It was released in August 2021 this year. The book itself was actually many years in the making. The name of the book is from the first poem called Stab the Pomegranate, which I wrote in 2008, a long time ago. But at that time when I was writing, at the very beginning, and I'm sure many people are like this, I was a secret poet, so I used to write in secret. I think maybe one or two people, maybe my family knew, but nobody really knew, and I never made it a big thing. But in 2008, I wrote Stab the Pomegranate, and it caused kind of a stir. So it was it was actually in a magazine. It had my pictures, and it was crazy. People loved the poem. So when I got published last year, and it was only last year when I first got published, I always had in the back of my mind, Stab the Pomegranate. I have got to release it as a book or put it in a book. And that's where the idea came from. The book itself is actually in two parts, and I will read poetry from both parts. The first part is called That Was Then, is the old poetry, the poetry that I've been writing for many, many years that caused a bit of a sensation. People get excited about these poems, so I put them all together. This is now is about my new work, the work that is published online on Facebook, on Instagram, on many anthologies as well. Is the new poetry that I'm writing now. This is then. So it is the idea of when you cut a pomegranate in half, there are two hearts. There are two parts of it, and that is Stab the Pomegranate. So congratulations and thank you for all of you that have been buying the book as well. So that's where the concept and the idea came from. I want to talk about the poem, and then I will actually I will read, of course, Stab the Pomegranate. Stab the Pomegranate, the idea for Stab the Pomegranate came from, I was listening to a radio show, and they were talking about how to cut a pomegranate in half, and they were saying that there's a technique of cutting a pomegranate, and there is actually a technique, and you can watch YouTube videos on this and so on. But I thought, what an idea if I was to stab the pomegranate, and that's where the idea came from. And also there's lots of emotions brought into that poem as well. So it's the name of the book, but also the name of the first poem that is in the book as well. So I'm going to start by reading with Stab the Pomegranate. She stabbed the pomegranate right through the heart, cut it to pieces, tore it apart, sliced and diced it, drew out its life. She went in with a scalpel, then cut like a knife. Soon after, blood filled her beautiful hands as she bled dry its juicy glands. She carried on for a long time, and don't think she quite knew that she'd committed the worst possible crime that anyone could ever commit. But there is a well thought out method, a perfect technique to cut open a pomegranate, and this wasn't it. And there she stood right in front of me with a pomegranate in her hand. She held it high so I could see. I knew then that it was over, that she wasn't the one for me. The night I witnessed the stabbing of the pomegranate, the night she cut open my heart, the night she set me free. Thank you.
Sir, extremely wonderful poem. Sir, extremely wonderful poem. And actually, the thing is that lots of people saw apple falling from the tree, but it was only Newton who discovered the law of gravitation. So we all have in our life have cut pomegranate many times. It is one of the healthiest food. It is considered as one of the healthiest fruit in South Asia, whether it is India, Pakistan or Bangladesh. And all the sick, all the people who are sick are advised to eat pomegranate. Even I have been sick from 20 days and my doctor is advising me to eat pomegranate. I am recovering from my sickness. But sir, nobody thought pomegranate to be means heart cut into two. How does this metaphor, this came to your mind? How this? So what is the inspiration?
The inspiration, I think you can see from the picture there that that's the cover of the book with the heart in it. It's about loss. It's about the end of a relationship. It's about the pain of a relationship. And the pomegranate represents my heart, cut into two, and the two parts of the pomegranate. So for me, it's actually a very sad poem. It's devastating, to be honest, if you think of it. You know, the night she cut open my heart, and the night she set me free. So in a way, by hurting me so much and stabbing me through the heart, I was set free. So from a relationship that wasn't good for me, I was absolutely set free. And as I said, at the time when I was writing, I wasn't actually sure what I wanted to do. I didn't even know if I wanted to share my poetry with anyone. But it got picked up, and it was in a magazine for a long time. quite, and people loved these Stab the Pomegranate poem. So many years when I got published, I always felt, and I kept saying to myself, what about Stab the Pomegranate? What are you going to do with this? And I knew after Two Hearts that I wanted to make it into a book. It had to be in a book, but not just in a book. It had to be the lead poem going into that.
Sir, we request
So
you
it's a very, very sad poem.
Okay. Sir, we request you to read some more poem from your book.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the book is in two parts, and many people know me as the romantic poem. There are two poems that are actually, I'm going to read back to back if that's okay, that are both on YouTube. So in the last couple of months, it's actually been crazy. As a poet, I never knew there was a whole world out there, and so many people would love my poetry. But I'm going to read the two last poems from the first bit, which is called That Was Then. So these are my old poems, but these are the most celebrated ones, and both of these are on YouTube. This is called Blind. The humming's bird wing stops in mid-flow, while waters lose their will to flow. Silence burns a catalyst, burns a desire. The stillness of time have stopped the fire. The cold chill engulfs me, blinds my passion so I cannot see. My timing is out of sync. Now there is no looking forward, there is no looking back. Clocks have stopped dead in their tracks, lost all sense of time. Now there is no rhythm, there is no rhyme. But I don't know what I'll find, for without you I am blind. Thank you. I'm going to also read If It Is. This is the second poem that is actually on YouTube. You can find it from there. And again, it's quite a romantic poem. If it is life that has made you sad, let me take away your sadness. If it is loneliness that has made you mad, let me take away your madness. If it is love that has made you blind, then I will be the one that will help you see that I am the one that can bring you into life, some sanity. For it is love that has made you lost for words. Let me be your poetry, your inspiration, someone that you'll remember for many years to come. Let me take all your troubles, let me make them all come undone. But I will do this and more if you let me through your door, the door through your heart. For you and you alone can do this. With each touch, with each kiss, you will know if it is love, the real thing, if it is. Thank you.
Extremely beautiful, sir. In most of your poem, there is a note of melancholy, sadness. What is the reason behind this sadness? Do you like sad, gloomy poems?
I don't know. I think there is a sadness. People, I mean, it was actually Annette Tarpley. I don't know if she's joining us here, but it was Annette Tarpley who coined the term, called me the romantic poet. So she hadn't met me, but she had read some of the poetry, and even I went back and read them. I thought, yes, are they romantic? They are romantic, but there is certain loss as well. I think in love there is happiness. I mean, certainly there is happiness as well, but there's also sadness as well. I write about love, but I write it in a melancholy way as well. Although I do write obviously quite a lot about love, there is a lot of sadness, because that's what I have experienced, this kind of love in the past, and also heartbreak as well. Somebody read the book, they were reading Stab the Pomegranate, and they came back to me and said, Sarfaraz, your heart has been broken many times. And I said, I think you've read my book, haven't you? So it is in there. But there is some really, really good poetry as well within there. So you've got over 112, 113 poems that are there. So it's quite a big book for a solo collection. I have also got collaborations with Dennis Brown, with Pratibha Savani and Jack Tomlinson as well. At the beginning you will see I wrote a little story called The Secret Poet. And because I was getting so much attention and people were asking me, Sarfaraz, how did you get into writing, and how did you, what are your influences and so on. So I wrote the story called The Secret Poet, and that is at the beginning, but that actually tells you the story of how I got to be here and how I got to be published the inspiration behind a lot of the poems that are there as well. I think I want to read you something from the second part as well, which is called This Is Now. So, this is something from obviously from now. So a lot of the poems from from Start the Pomegranate, half of it are the older poems, and the new poems are the ones that I'm writing now. So I want to read you Let the Dance Begin. Let the dance begin. She broke the stance, the hidden dance, untied the knots of bolts, the things that bind. She plunged headfirst into hidden depths, left the old world behind. She wrapped it round her finger until it was neat and tightly fit, as the shackles became loose, little by little, bit by bit. She took his hand, wore his wedding band, stepped forward, dried, dripped in white linen and lace. Her eyes sparkled, but she had the look of love upon her face. As she walked down the aisle, the crowd stopped to cheer. The whole room began to erupt. She took one last breath. She took it all in, bathed in the moment. Let the dance begin. And that is, Let the Dance Begin is all about falling in love. It's all about finding the one that you are meant to be with. And that is a new poem, actually, Let the Dance Begin. So you have got a real collection of poetry that is both the old and the new together, and bringing it to a new audience. So, I've got the people have bought the book all around the world, and I'm so grateful and humbled by it. They keep sending me pictures of them with holding the book as well. So that is really, really fantastic. And as I said, I've done lots of collaborations. I think there's about 8 or 9 collaborations in there from different poets, from Dennis Brown, Jack Tomlinson from the UK, and my good friend Pratibha, who we often write together as well, and we obviously support each other as well. I'm going to read one which is obviously for India. This is called Sarah. When you get married, you wear a Sarah on your head. So I'm going to read this, and it's called Sarah. As the Sarah was placed upon his head, a sudden rush of emotion bled, crushed down upon him, ripped through his heart and under his skin. After a while, the groom's headdress, the ceremonial crown, began to wear him down. Jeweled, white and glorified with a silk veil, heavily embroidered and hand-stitched, clustered with jewels and stone, bore witness to what had begun, a marriage ceremony for this beguiled man. As the Sarah was placed upon his head, a sudden rush of emotion bled, his breath quickened, his skull began to pound, the room spiraled as the crowd gathered round and around, the court gesture and the circus clown. All he heard was the heavy beat of his heart as the drums began to pound, set loose the dancers as they began to propel. His sad eyes gazed up, wondered if this was heaven or if this was hell. So Sarah is a good headdress that everybody
Sehra, we know, sir.
Yes, it was Sarah.
In our culture,
Of course.
Yes, sir. In the culture of subcontinent, whether it is Hindus or Muslim or even Sikh, whether it is India, Pakistan or Bangladesh, Sehra is used in all, every ethnicities, every religion in all these countries. So, sir, you are a fine example of synthesis of East and West. Means you are a man from South Asia. You are a man from South Asia, and you are living in UK, sir. You are a man from South Asia. You are living in UK. How? What is your identity? What do you feel? How do you assimilate both the culture of East and West? Means how are you accepted in UK? So tell us about this experience of yours.
Thank you. Okay, so I was born in England, so I've only known the UK. I have been to my family is from Pakistan. So my family is from Pakistan, so they are all from there. When you are growing, it's different. I've got lots of friends who are from India, of course, yourself, and their experience is very different to mine, because sometimes you feel accepted, sometimes you feel not accepted. Sometimes the traditions of our parents are very, very different, and sometimes we embrace them, sometimes we actually run away from them. And that poem, Sarah, is about someone who's getting getting ready to get married and not sure whether it is something that he wants to do. It's a tradition that he wants to take on. And I have written quite a few. I've written about the Asian wedding party. I've written about the bride quite a lot. I do write about my culture because it is something I'm very, very proud of. I'm proud of the Indian heritage. I'm proud of the music and all the culture and you know the Urdu poets as well. I'd love for some of my poetry. Actually, I would love the whole book to be translated into Hindi. That would be fantastic. Or Urdu, that would be fantastic, because I think there's a whole audience out there that haven't that would read this poetry, because it's very emotionally driven, as most poetry are. It's got a romantic heart to it. Most of my poetry has got a romantic heart, and Dr. Shaminaz, like you said correctly, there is a sadness. But I think in the Indian culture, in the Asian culture, we sometimes celebrate sadness. We kind of understand it. We live with it as part of our life. And you know, you talk to anyone, any person, you know, they have been through huge amounts of sadness, perhaps, in their lives. So it's a burden that we carry. But that's, you know, we live with it together. So that's that's in there. But the poems are very emotional. They're very close to my heart. I mean, you know, the start of the Pomegranate book. I mean, we all know, obviously, writing a book is not an easy thing, especially for a poet. I think we like writing poetry. We don't sometimes understand or have got the patience to put a book together. So I'm very, very pleased with this, because it's a celebration. I think some of my best work, to be honest. You know, some of my early work, and I handpicked a lot of the celebrated poems. But I felt that people should understand and should get to know. So I'm really, really excited about it. The book's been out for, I think it's been out for actually two months now. So August the 20th, and now it's coming up to October. You know, that around that time as well. So you know, about 2 months. And this 2 months has been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. People are, you know, people buying the book, people are reading the poem. I get people coming back to me and saying, Sarfaraz, I like this poem, I love this, and without even me really knowing, blind, and if it is, went on YouTube. I didn't even know they were there. They told me afterwards that my poems are in there. So yeah, it's getting excited, and I'm just enjoying it. And I'm grateful as well. I've got a lot of gratitude.
Sir, you said about the sadness. If you have seen, means in the poetry of the subcontinent, especially Urdu poetry, is although successful Urdu poetry
Yes.
is sad. There is a note of sadness, whether it is Mirza
Yes.
Ghalib or whether it is Ghalib poetry or Allama Iqbal or any other. In the same way, if you have seen the Bollywood movies, all the most successful songs
Yes.
are the sad songs. We often all the
Yes.
successful songs of the subcontinent are the sad songs. So, and sir, you are often referred as a romantic poet. So, and you are living in UK. So, are you inspired by the romantic poet like Wordsworth Shelley, Coleridge Keats, or any other poet which you follow or which you love a lot?
I love. Thank you. I do like. I like Keats. I like. I mean, I grew up with. Funny enough, with Maya Angelou. You know, the American poetess. I'm very, very influenced by her and the way she writes and the way she puts a poem together. And there is a depth of sadness in there as well. I like talking about modern things as well. Modern things that are going on in our lives. Whether it is being happy, sad, emotion, clothing, I write about Annette. I write about clothing so much. Annette Topley, who obviously is a good friend of mine, but I do embrace that. So I do talk a lot about that, and it's exciting to talk about poetry because you know I find that you know we are a distinct group of people that like poetry, and you know at the end of the day we all gather around, and the internet is fantastic because you know we are able to do you know events like this, so I can reach people around the world and they can watch it. and enjoy it. And also the the open mic sessions as well are fantastic, because I've been collaborating with poets all around the world. One of my one person that really inspires me is Zan Johns, fantastic poetess. Got an amazing. She's got a couple of books out now. Zan Johns is fantastic. The way she writes is absolutely, inspirational. I have written with her. I've written 2 poems with her. So we've been writing together. We have, she thankfully she likes my work as well. So yeah, I am very inspired by poets of the old, like Shakespeare and Keats and so on, and Sylvia Plath. I got Sylvia Plath's book as well. If you know Sylvia Plath, of course. Her poetry is, oh my God, is something else. It's very, very sad. But there is but then in the sadness, there's always hope. I always like to give people hope, because there's one thing being sad, but I think you need to give some people hope as well. I want to read a poem that I've never read before, which is very close to my heart, called Mother's Hands. And I want to read that, because that's something that I do talk about in this book, whereas I have never talked about it before, which is grief and people around you that are not there anymore. So that poem is again very, 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 very special to me. So with your permission, I'm going to read Mother's Hands. Okay? And
Yes,
this
sure.
is God.
Sure.
Because obviously, you know the origin of where I come from. So I talk about my mom now. This is my mother. Mother's hands. Mother's hands conducted pots and pans, tossed chapatis with her bare hands. She was a maestro, conducting an orchestra, queen of her castle, her skills fine-tuned, mastered to perfections. Mother's hands were henna-dipped in weddings, glorified in beauty. Her hands clapped together as she danced without a care. Her hands became wings as she walked on air. Mother's hands gestured, moved with such fine precision, put right to wrongs with a fleeting glance and a sharp tongue, told the children, walk, don't run, keep going, be strong. Mother's hands nursed you when you were ill, held you in her arms, kept you still, while she whispered a prayer or two, blew it all over you again and again, to protect you, to take away the hurt, to take away the pain. Mother's hands held prayer beads, held them tight. She often sit for hours through the day and night. Mother's hands would hold us, would never let us go. Mother's hands picked us up all when we would fall. She carried the children, she carried us all. Mother's hands were rough, not smooth. Told a story of bitterness and strife. She had to fight for all her life. She carried the burden, sticks and stones. Mother's hands would often ache from her bones. I held Mother's hands for the very last time, just before the funeral procession came. I kissed her on her forehead, for deep down I knew that she'll never be in no more pain. Thank you. Thank you.
Very emotional, very emotional.
So that poem, I have never read it out until now. It is very, very emotional, because it's true. It's not because a lot of the poetry I do write from imagination or some feelings and so on. But this is 100% true as well. And I've written a few more that are very, very close to my heart. There's 1 or 2 that I didn't actually include that actually were too emotional for me to even put in. I wrote them, and I can't bear to read them again, because they are too emotional. They are very attached to my heart. But Mother's Hands is actually quite a nice poem, a very nice, relaxing poem, and truthful as well. But it's nice to read it. I like to read the poem as well.
Sir, you have given so many examples of the poet of around the world, but you did not mention a poet from our side, from South Asia, whether from India or Pakistan. Do you like the poetry of Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi?
I do. To be honest, I do like it. I like to listen to it, but because I can't write, I don't read or write it. I find it very difficult for me to read that poetry, so I can't access it, which is terrible. But I love listening to it, and I love listening to the songs, and I love that, and that's actually been inspirational because we grew up with the Bollywood movies, with the songs. We grew up with everything around us in the weddings and everything that we used to go to. So I think that has been inspirational to me, especially some of the songs. Especially somebody was saying to me that, Sarfaraz, when you write about love, you write it in a very, like a Bollywood fashion, in a very dramatic kind of way. And I didn't realise that. I think, yes, I probably do, actually. I'm very influenced by, obviously, things growing up. But unfortunately, no, I can't read. If I could read it, Hindi, I could read Hindi or Urdu, that'd be fantastic. And I would read probably more. I want to. I think it'd be nice. It'd be fantastic.
So your family is Urdu speaking or Punjabi speaking? Because mostly in Pakistan, people are Punjabi speaking. Those who have gone from our side, from India, they are Urdu speaking families. So your family is Punjabi speaking?
Yeah, both. They speak both Urdu and Punjabi as well. But it's more Urdu, to be honest. But to be honest, because the older generation have gone now, the people that spoke, and you have to speak to them, they've all gone. Everyone now speaks English. Yeah, it's changed.
Sir,
Only
but
people that come from Pakistan, you would speak to them.
sir, but means Punjab, 60% Punjab is your side, 40% is our side, and you people, Pakistanis speak Urdu in Punjabi style. If you have heard them speaking, Pakistani speaking
Yes,
Urdu,
I
they
think
speak
they do.
more in a Punjabi style. They
Yes,
speak.
yes, true. I agree. They do. They do, but mostly because I am, obviously I'm from second generation, and everyone here, we all speak English. All the whole family, to be honest. Very, very few would speak Urdu or anything because the generation has gone. They are all born here or grew up here, and so yeah. It's really nice to share it with everyone. Very,
Yes,
very good.
yes. Sir, your last book was one of the best-selling books. Two Heart was the best-selling. What about this?
Yes, it was an Amazon bestseller. Amazon bestseller. This book has been recommended by Amazon. It's actually doing really, really well. I mean, my audience is growing around the world. It's actually, the book sales are coming from America mostly, and the UK, and we do get some from India as well, especially on Kindle. So the Kindle sales, they are doing really, really well. Doing well. I think the thing is, at the end of the day, if somebody listens to your poetry and they love your poetry, they will buy the book. They will just follow you, like I do. They will say, Sarfaraz, Ahmed, he's got a new book out, I have to have it. I love that. I love the poet. He's fantastic. So, but I get a lot from America. It was interesting when I wrote my first book. This is my first book. There. Now, in this book, it was very, very different. It had no picture of me, no picture, nothing. But I was getting so many messages from America, and obviously, I made friends with Annette through this book, just because the poetry was something that they liked. But this book is really doing well. It's been recommended through Amazon again as one of the must-have poetry books this year. And the more events that I do, the more poetry reading that I do, I find that my book sales tend to go up and up and up. So maybe after today, I might sell a few more in India. I'd love to do more in India. That would be fantastic.
Yes, sure.
I think the poetry poems cross over very nicely to South Asia, and I think especially the romantic or the sad poems, they work very, very well. But I just enjoy writing, and if anybody likes the poetry and they enjoy it, it's not all about selling the book. I mean, I wish that was the case, but I just like people getting something from the poets. I think that's important.
Sir, very good, and we wish you all the best for that. And sir, just last question from my side, and then I request others to ask question from you. What is the procedure of royalty? Do people, poet like you, whose books are being bestsellers, do you get royalty? Because the case of royalty is different in
Yeah,
different countries, and means different with
yeah.
different publishers. So what is the scenario of royalty? Do you receive royalty?
Yes, yes, yes. Look, I would explain this because because I'm a writer, we're all hopefully, I think everyone in the audience are poets and writers. So this is very useful. So when I first got published, which was in March 2020, so last year in lockdown, I got published in lockdown. I was so excited that I didn't pay that much attention, and I should have paid so much attention to the royalties. So there was a percentage. So with the first book, the publisher is a different publisher. I've got three different publishers, and they take a percentage of the royalties. So I don't get the whole royalty. They take a bit. The second one was with GMGA Publishing with Two Hearts. That was split with my co-publisher Annette Topley, but we get royalties. So we get royalties, but that gets split with Annette. Now with this one, and that's why it's important, I think, as a poet, to ask that question, because I got so excited. I just signed the contract straight away. To be honest, the first one, I was so excited. I had never, I've been published in magazines, but this was my own book, and I had a publisher which is absolutely, she loved my poetry, which I was over the moon by. Now, this last publisher, and that's why it's good to shop around, you pay an upfront fee to get the book done. I have done, one of the things that I have done is the editing part of it. So I am the editor for Stop the Pomegranate, I'm the editor for Two Hearts, I'm also the editor for the Passion of Poetry anthology that's coming out, which is one of the biggest anthologies I've ever seen in my life, and I'm the editor for that. So the more you can do yourself, the cheaper it is going to be. So if you can proofread it, if you can get someone to do the illustrations, if you can do someone to do the more you can get other people to do, you will save money. If you put it all onto the publisher, they will charge you more money and take the royalties as well. So my advice to people out there is, please shop around, ask about royalties, ask about how will I get paid, ask about what you will do, what will you do in this contract, what are you expecting me to do. And the biggest piece of advice I would say is never approach a publisher without probably the finished manuscript. So get your manuscript finished, have it in front of you, and then contact publishers. Because when you contact publishers, the first thing that they ask you is, can I see the manuscript? And then you say, oh, I haven't got it yet, or I haven't done it yet. Or you haven't got anything to show them. So I would say work on the manuscript, but the more you could do, the better it is for you. And
But sir, there are still means many people those who don't get royalty. Or sir, what is your experience regarding in whatever money you have put on publishing first book, second book, third book, whatever book, do you have got the royalty more than the price of the book,
Yeah. Okay, so the answer is, I think I was working this out. With the children's book, I got the money back. Yeah, with the children's book, my teacher's a poet. My teacher is an alien. I've made the money back, so now it's in profit. It's making profit. Two Hearts is nearly there as well. We are doing really, really well. I gave because obviously I wrote that with Annette. So recently, Annette contacted me and we worked out some money to be paid to Annette as well. And so we're getting there, but we're not there yet with Two Hearts. And this book, because I get all the royalties, so Amazon gets some. So basically, the publisher has taken the money and that's it. They get no more money. I get all the royalties for Stop the Pomegranate, but also Amazon will take their cut as well, which you've got to remember. But I think you've got to be a very, very big name. A novelist, a big name like, we talk about Shakespeare, talk about Keats, and these kinds of people who sell poetry, a lot around the world, or maybe it's in a school curriculum. If it's in a school curriculum and your book is there, for example, if Start the Pomegranate was in every school in India, then I'd be flying to India every 6 weeks and enjoying a nice life, I think.
Sir, poetry books are not so much sold. It is novels, short story collection who are sold.
Yeah, it's novels. Yeah, it is true. But it's so you do it for the passion. You do it for the love of poetry, and that's what people say to me. They say, Sarfaraz, are you going to retire now? And I said, well, I'm actually trained, I've got a job, I've got a trained profession, and this is my hobby, this is what I enjoy doing in spare time, and I love it, and it comes naturally. It's not like with poetry, it's like I was breathing, or I don't even need to think. I just need to have a pen and a paper in my hand, and I can write a poem. It's not hard work. It's pure enjoyment. I enjoy every bit of it.
Dr. Manisha and Dr. Kanupriya, would you like to ask some question from Sarfaraz sir?
Sure. I just wanted to ask that why only pomegranate has been stabbed? Why not any other fruit like apple? Why not to cut? Why to stab?
You know what? I think because the pomegranate has got such beautiful kind of a history, and the look and the feel, the texture of a pomegranate. But if you notice, if you stab a pomegranate, the seeds that come out look like blood. That's how the blood is flowing. So I think that was going in my mind. But I like the sound. The pomegranate sound is like a melon. That's quite boring, or pineapple. Pomegranate is exotic fruit. It's like I said. I mean, as Shamina said, it's a nurturing fruit. It's good for you. But to stab it, I think it's quite sacrilege. It's kind of a special fruit. I wouldn't want to stab a pomegranate. I think the God would be looking at me and thinking, "My God, why are you stabbing the most beautiful fruit in the world?"
Dr. Manisha, now whenever we will cut pomegranate, remember this poem.
We'll stand it. Won't cut it.
Pomegranate reminds me of John Donne's juxtaposition, his conceits.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. There is similarities with it. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I think other people have come back to me, because people absolutely, there is something special. When you write something, and I know that this is probably for everyone here, you sometimes write something and you can't believe that you have written it. You sometimes have to sit back and think, oh my God, did I really write this? And it's only sometimes that other people come up to you and say, oh my God, this poem is so fantastic, or I can relate to this poem. And I think that's the thing with Stamp the Pomegranate. A lot of people can relate to it. The idea of a heartbroken, they really can relate to it a lot. So I think that's the success of it. And I absolutely love it. It was I kept it hidden from a net. I thought, but it may end up going into Two Hearts book. But I kept it hidden, and I kept it hidden from any open mic session that I did, and I kept it hidden for the book because I felt it needed a book. So I'm glad that you guys are really enjoying it.
Sir, please recite some more poems. Sir, please recite one or two more poems.
Yes. Okay, let me read a few more from the book as well, and I'm going to read just a few bit of selections as well. I've read this one out a few times, and people tend to love it. It's an example of my romantic, very, very romantic poem. Very Bollywood this is. Like silhouettes in the moonlight. I want to dance with you like silhouettes in the moonlight. I want to look in your eyes. I want to hold you tight. As the music surrounds us, takes us to another place where all I see is the beauty of your face. With just one look, you take me from far from this world that I once knew, but all I see is you, smiling down at me, eyes wide as the sun. But every time I look at you, you make the bad things become undone. Now there is no need to run, there is no need to hide, for I have the world, for I have you by my side. Every time you look at me, something deep down of me ignites. It is a feeling that I don't want to find, but I want to dance with you forever, like silhouettes in the moonlight. Thank you. So that is proper, really romantic as romantic as you can probably get, to be honest. This is one of the this poem called Two Chairs actually didn't make it into Two Hearts. It was left out. So I think we had enough poems in there and this and that. So this poem actually didn't make it, and I think it could have easily been in that book, Two Hearts with the Left Half. But it's called Two Chairs, and it's in this wonderful book. Two chairs. Two chairs are all that are left of us. Two chairs covered in dust. Some burnt from long summers and lazy days, when we'd sit side by side, our two worlds would collide. Sometimes you'd smile and our eyes would meet. On two chairs we'd sit and eat, laugh and play. We'd be together through the day and through the night. You'd take me by the hand, and together we'd stand. You'd pull me closer and we'd dance together, come rain or shine. Two hearts would intertwine. I'd look into your eyes and you would look into mine. I thought we'd be together forever, you and I, flying in the heavens, in the night sky. Now when I look out of the window, all I see are two chairs sat in the garden. Two chairs, a constant reminder of what we used to be. Two chairs that contain our history. That is all that is left of us. Two chairs covered in snow. Two chairs from a past long, long ago. Okay, that one, there's a line in there, two hearts would intertwine, and I felt that would be good for two hearts, but unfortunately it didn't make the book. But that is, that's a very, very sad poem, of course, and that's all that's left of us are the two chairs as well. So let me put up something from the beginning, obviously from the two parts of Start the Pomegranate. You've got the older poems that was then, and this is now. So I will read something from the beginning bit as well. Okay. So okay. I would read this. This is a true poem actually. This one called 7:39 Train. 7:39 Train. It started by chance, so pure, so slim, that by chance your arm touched mine, and you sat right next to me. My newspaper invaded your privacy. You asked me if I could borrow it after, as the jokes on page 22 filled me with laughter. Said, do nicely for the day. I smiled at you, and you looked at me as if you knew what I was about to say, as I could not stop looking at your face and the beauty that existed within. In the next few days, we carried on talking. You sat close to me, touched my skin. Our conversation flowed and flowed. Your lush blue waters cut through and through, nosedived straight into my heart, took its rightful place deep into my soul, began to unravel me, began to set me free. It all began when you sat next to me on the 7:39 train, eased the pain, you set me free, you let me go, filled me with such love from my head to my toe. Now each and every day I wait for you at the same station, my heart bleeds with anticipation, with a pang that I cannot control, for you entered my heart and my soul, mended what others could not mend, for you, like many others, deserted me in the end. Now I wait for you to come back, to return. In your absence I burn, I yearn for the soulmate that I found just by chance on the 7:39 commuter train that brought me so much love, that caused me so much pain. Thank you. And that is a true,
Wonderful.
I mean, to be honest, when you write poetry, all of it comes from a place of truth. Yeah, and that's my commuter train. That's the train that I catch to work. The 7:39 train is the train that I catch as well. I'm going to read a poem just about coming out of lockdown and coming out of what we've been through. And actually, this poem wasn't about lockdown. It's an older poem that I wrote many, many years ago, but I read it now and everyone says, oh, this is amazing, you're writing about hope, about positivity. So I think this possibly could be the last poem, but we'll see how we go. Happy days are here again. From the depths of the underbelly I rode the phoenix, walked upon the ash, left the solitude of men, transformed myself again and again, shed many skins until I became something truly unrecognizable from the mere mortal that once hid within. These days the outer shell is titanium, the inner is bulletproof, unbreakable, a force to be reckoned with. But for I am stronger than before, almighty, powerful and almighty, hear my roar. Upon the mountain tops, far from the sadness and pain, gone are the bad times, the thunder and rain. Gone are the dark clouds that once circled and surrounded me, completely dumbfounded me. The shackles that once bound me, the dark chrysalis that once burnt inside of me, took over me. Time and time again, happy days are here again. Gone are the bad times, the thunder and the rain.
Wonderful, sir.
And that is a poem obviously about going through something terrible in your life. So it could be lockdown, it could be an illness, it could be grief, it could be a loss. But the happy days are here again. It's about positivity, being positive, because all of us, we've all been, lockdown, the pandemic, and all these things have been, terrible, and it's still here. It's not gone. But the positivity that we have, and as poets and creative thinkers, I think we play a vital role in that. Everyone needs us to kind of lift the spirits and things.
Very optimistic approach. Very optimistic approach. And sir, we all have suffered a lot, whether it is sickness or during pandemic or financial. We all have seen financial crisis. We all have seen the losing of our relative, friends, and people whom we know. So, but everything passes away. We should believe that if good days are not for long, then bad days are also not for long. So in the end, sir, what would you like to give a message to the young poetry lover or young poets? What are your message, and especially to your fan following?
Okay, thank you. Well, I will say, first and foremost, don't ever stop writing. That's the first clear message. Don't ever stop writing. Writing, for me, is therapeutic. For me, is linked to my health and my well-being. But don't ever stop writing as well. Don't let people put you off as well, and judge you, because people do judge you a lot. And to keep writing. I think also for the young people, especially out there, don't be afraid of, they are not afraid of it actually, social media, and using groups like, the Passion of Poetry, Instagram as well, and just sharing your poetry as well, and also reading poetry, getting the books, buy books, and also support your poetry community as well. So if you see a book, buy it. If you can buy it. But if you don't get published, it's not about. For me, it wasn't about ever getting published. Although that happened by chance, and I've been successful in that. But I think you can get published in many ways, like putting a poem on Facebook site, for example, or putting it online on Instagram. There's many others like Cosmophonal and so on in the US. And you need to also talk to other poets and writers, and start developing your technique as well. My poems that you see now are in the book. They are not the poems that I first started writing. They were very, very different. They look very different. They weren't all polished and preen and proper. They were very, very different. And it took years. I have been writing for 19 years now. I've been a writer for almost that long. I've been writing poetry for so long. And so putting a book together, and the fact that people like your poetry is a bonus. It's just an added bonus.
So sad part is that So sad part is that people don't buy books. They ask for free copies. The sad part is that, sir,
yes,
even those who can buy books, they don't buy, and they always ask for free copies.
Yes, that's true. I tell you what, that's exactly what I found when I first started writing. And they kept saying to me, "Oh, can I have a copy of your book?" And I was thinking, I have to print it all off for you and give you a copy. That doesn't make sense to me, and I think people don't value it. I agree with you. People will pay for a novel by Harry Potter, but they won't buy a book which is not too expensive. The poetry books are not too expensive. Mine, the stuff, the Pomegranate, it is not a huge price. But I think also the problem that we've got as poets is, I think the internet has been our friend, but also not a friend as well, because there is so much poetry that is free online. That is, so much of it is free, and that's where people think, oh, why do I need to buy it? But I think for those people that are passionate about poetry and enjoy writing, I think I would urge you to invest in some of the books that you like. I've got to be honest, some of the books that I've bought have not been fantastic. I bought a huge amount. Some of them that are by people that are not famous or anything like that are the best poetry. Well, some of the best poetry that I'm listening to now is on Instagram. Some of the best poets that I'm finding are in the strangest of places. So, you don't have to have a book published. You can have it published in lots of different means. And enjoy the process. Don't take yourself too seriously. I know some people who sometimes they get a bad review or get bad feedback from Facebook or something, and they get very, very upset. They get very heartbroken and this and that. And when you write and you put something out there, it won't be the favourite for everyone. Not everyone is going to like it, but there'll be the people that do like it and will follow you. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful time and wonderful poetry, and all the best for your career, for your book. We hope that your book is very successful and it also become bestseller. In the end, I will request Dr. Manisha to give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, Dr. Sarfaraz.
Thank you so much, sir.
It's fine.
Thanks a lot, and
I really enjoy it.
For inspiring everyone. Not only us, but all us, the aspiring poets, and how you have to struggle in this field. That also you have spoken about. So it's really, and one thing I like that you said that we should never stop writing. So it's very good, and a special thanks to Dr. Sarfaraz from the Progressive Literary Culture Society to organize such an evening, and we wish you a successful, that your book becomes the success bestseller, and we are eager to have your book and read more and more, and wish you that you keep on writing and become...
Oh, I hope to.
Sir, just one. Sir, just one last thing.
Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yes.
And putting us right here. That is your purpose.
Sir, just one last thing. Yes, Di. Yes.
Okay. It's. Hi, Sarfaraz, you were going to say something?
Yes, in the end, I would like Sarfaraz sir to tell the detail of the book. Where can anybody buy the book? What are the details of the book? Where it is available?
Okay, thank you. It's available on Amazon around the world. Amazon India, they have it. You can get it on Kindle as well. You can get it as an ebook as well, so it's available there. I would personally, you just put in either you put in the name or put in Stab the Pomegranate. It's a strange title. Somebody asked me actually, that's why do you have strange titles? Your titles are very strange. And I answered, because you can find them easier on Amazon. So Stab the Pomegranate is available on Amazon. So please enjoy it. Share it. If you want to purchase it, please purchase it. But if you want to, just enjoy the poetry, I'm very happy and grateful for everyone out there. And you can get it on you take it further.
Thank you. Dr. Manisha, were you saying something? Because I thought there is network issue, so I told sir to give detail of the book. Were you saying something?
Shanaz ma'am is willing to say something.
Shanaz ma'am is in the way, I think. Shanaz ma'am is in the way. Are you somewhere outside, ma'am?
She has unmuted twice.
Yeah, I'm outside, but I heard the whole discourse. I mean, not totally, partially. And I'm really excited, to stab the pomegranate. I'm really, looking forward to stabbing the pomegranate. It was really the way Sarfaraz sir has, elaborated on his poems and the samples that he read out. My God, I'm really impressed. And I hope it's going to be, I hope and I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting reading, So I'm eager to stab your pomegranate.
So once again, sir, once again, thank you from the team of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. And sir, you are also part of our family, PLCS family. You are our UK representative. We wish you from the bottom of our heart big success on your book, and we will meet again in some other event. We are going to meet next week in European poetry reading, and we wish you all the good luck. That is for today. So here's thank you everyone from the team PLCS. We will meet tomorrow for Hindi Urdu poetry reading. So please watch us, please support us by watching our event.